What's going on, everyone? It's time to talk about a micro budget Z grade independent film. More action than anything else, but yeah, it's gonna be interesting because this one's called Order of One Kung Fu Killing Spree. It's basically a big homage to the kung fu movies of the '60s and '70s with like the Americanized like twist to it and stuff. And yeah, it was all right. It was interesting. And it's distributed by Chemical Burn Entertainment. I've done some of their other films on this. I talked about some of their other stuff, but they're hit and miss. It's mainly shot on video stuff and things like that. It was released sometime in 2011 and directed by Kevin Woodhouse, who's I think he also like wrote it and stuff like that. But yeah, he's also done other films like the Sign of Four, uh, Last Emperor, Secret Window, Red 2. He's gone on to do quite a few big things and stuff in the film industry. This one, I think, is like one of his first films he's ever done. And it's shot on video, made for a couple grand with a whole bunch of friends, basically, type deal. Basically, this film is a martial arts expert gets out of prison, basically, and it's mainly a revenge film where he gets out and he learns of a secret sword type thing and has to basically try to get it before he gets in the wrong hands of the people he used to work for. And they're trying to get their hands on it too because they're going to try to rule the world and everything like that. And he sort of wants to get revenge on them and also wants to prevent this from happening. So he teams up with like an agent or something and basically goes and throughout it. First, there's like the female part of the gang that tries to kill him in the beginning. He fights them off, and it builds and builds and builds until he gets to the main headquarters and fights them off to get it to help save the day. Yeah, it's your typical action film plot. Um, like I said, it's done a micro budget, but if you like action movies, like watching a lot of people get beat up and shot and stuff, this is packed full of it. They barely did any character development in this film. So I didn't really care for any of the characters, but holy crap, was there a lot of fighting. There's a lot of good choreographed martial arts films, which you don't see in these type of films, like these Z-grade shot on video movies. There's quite a few of them, and most of them are pretty well done, I thought. And yeah, they did quite a few stunts in this too, which looked pretty interesting and was cool. And some of the gore effects and stuff, it looks a little cheesy, but some of them actually look pretty decent for what it is, anyways. Yeah, it's definitely a way different type of film than I was expecting. But yeah, the big flaw here is there's very little plot and um, very little character development. So you got like a whole pile of characters coming in and out of the story, and you're not sure why. And yeah, I think that's the big flaw of this film is the writing. But yeah, some of the other aspects, like there's some minor like horror spiritual stuff in it, and which is like they think they pick up some random guy who asks him for a ride, but he ends up being a ghost, and then he talks some religious shit to them, and which doesn't really add anything to it for some reason. They just kind of threw that in there, I thought. But yeah, that was kind of weird. And also the backstory for like the sword thing that they're trying to get is told in really ridiculous flashback form, which I absolutely hate. Like when movies do that, but it's like the cheapest and easiest way to tell a backstory. Find it for filmmakers, I guess. But for me, it always drives me nuts when they do this because like especially in this one, they'll be randomly like fighting, and then they'll go walk off somewhere, and they'll just freeze frame and then dissipate into the flashback scene, and then next thing you know, they're at another location to fight, and it's just like okay, like that was random, and it does that quite often throughout, which was off-putting, and for the most part, they could just set it all in one big paragraph, and you wouldn't have to waste all the time doing it. But I guess they're trying to pad out the runtime, I guess. Yeah, the comedy in this film is actually pretty funny too. There's some funny lines, especially at the very end. There's a really ridiculous line and stuff. But yeah. Overall though, it's okay. It wasn't the greatest thing. If you like watching a lot of action and people getting shot up, you might find this interesting, but don't go in it looking for a decent story or anything new, or with any characters to root for, because they barely do any plot development or any character development. So yeah, but it was still a good action-packed time, I guess. Yeah, so that's basically all I have to say about this film. Is that yeah, it's action-packed, but you need a little bit more than just a lot of action and gore. So yeah, Order 1 Kung Fu Killing Spree, I'm gonna give a 2.5 out of 5. It was better than I was expecting, but it's still down on the low tier for action films. Definitely nothing to gripe home about. But if this sounds interesting and up your alley, there's a trailer link down below as well. So if you want to check it out and see what I'm talking about, it's linked down below. So yeah. Also, make sure you check out my Instagram. That's linked down below too. That's where I post clips of films I'm going to review in the future on my story all the time. I also had the title and hashtag, so you can try to find a guess or whatever. Or if you're interested to see what I'm watching, that's where you'll find it. Also, I do put the subgenre of film in the video clip as well, in case it's something you don't watch, you're aware of it. So make sure you follow me on Instagram to stay in the loop. If you have any films that you want to hear my opinions on, whether they're like terrible shot on video crap like this, or this type of film, or high budget films, or anything at all, comment them down below. I'll try my best to get to them as soon as I can, and if I can find them. Make sure you like this video, share it so more people are aware of it, and come and subscribe, because you never know what I'm going to talk about next. Now, I got about I don't know, 6 or 7 more Z-grade movies to talk about that I want to check out, so there'll probably be another one of those in the next video, but who knows, I change my mind all the time, so make sure you subscribe, because you never know what I'm going to talk about next. And yep, and if you really want to, hunt down Order of 1 Kung Fu Killing Spree to watch some ridiculous fight scenes. But till the next one, cheers.